Hello, my name is Alex Goodall, and in this video I'm going to show you how I use Action Machine Pro to help me follow my own time management principle, which is to create and stick to your own agenda for your online business. What I'll do is I'll say a little bit about creating and sticking to your agenda, including my number one rule. Then I'll mention the dream of the 4-hour work week before going on to explain how I personally use Action Machine Pro. Now, anyone who knows my approach to doing business knows that I always encourage people to be definite about having their own agenda. It's just so easy to get distracted and lose focus when you're running an online business that having a definite agenda across all time frames is the most important thing to get into place. In my own mentoring program, I use the Internet Professionals Master Agenda to help people set their agendas for the long and medium term, and I encourage my mentees to create weekly plans as a way of setting their short-term agendas. Now, it's all very well creating agendas, but how do you stick to them? Well, simply by applying the same principle to the short term. You need to know exactly what you're going to be doing today, for this next hour, and in fact right now. And what I found is that Action Machine Pro has been a huge help in allowing me personally to do exactly that. It's become an integral part of how I plan and manage my time each day. Simply put, it helps me follow my number one rule for sticking to your agenda, which is never sit down to work without a definite plan of how you will spend each minute in front of your screen. Now, that may seem extreme, but I think that is the mindset you have to adopt. In my view, if you're running a business, you simply can't afford to spend any of your precious time sat in front of a screen without having a clear, precise and definite purpose. You need to know exactly what you should be doing for every minute you spend working. Perhaps you have the dream of working 4 hours a week and earning tens of thousands a month. That isn't an impossible dream. It is possible, but only after you've put in a lot of effort for many months, more likely years. But here's the point, that effort has to be spent on highly productive work following a definite plan, not idle surfing, not reading distracting emails, and not following up interesting but irrelevant ideas. That's why you need your agenda across all time frames, including the very short time frames, because that is what helps you stick to your longer term agenda. Now, the reason I'm very aware of all this is because by nature I'm a lazy person and I don't much like the idea of planning my time. I'd much rather just follow my nose and do the next interesting thing that comes to mind, even if it's not relevant. But I know for sure that my business would simply wither and die if I let myself work like that. So I've had to develop ways to force myself to work differently, and Action Machine Pro has become an integral part of how I do that. And this is how I use the product. So here is the Action Machine Pro screen. To the right you can see a collection of activity timers as they were at the end of the day yesterday. Now, because I perform many of the same activities each day, I simply start with the previous day's activities and modify them for the new day. The first thing that I do is reset all the timers by clicking up here. And there you've seen them all reset. And then I immediately start the daily planning timer, so that right from the beginning of the day I know what activity I'm performing and how much time I'm allowing myself. I normally allocate about 15 minutes for planning, but it hardly ever takes that long. Looking at the other timers, I use market engagement for the time I spend on social networks or forums. And by having this timer, it means that I don't neglect this important part of my online presence, but also that I strictly limit the amount of time I spend on it. The inbox admin and support timer is for managing my inbox and handling support tickets and emails. And once again, I put an upper limit on the amount of time I spend on it based on the size of my inbox and number of support tickets. Then mentee communications is for time I spend communicating with my mentees, obviously. And I scan my mentoring inbox for emails from my mentees to estimate how much time I need to allocate to this, and this can sometimes go up to 1 or 2 hours. I use the odds and ends and overruns timer in two ways. First, I use it for any small tasks which I want to do today, and I can record those over here on the left just to remind me. I also use this timer if I run out of time on any of the other activities. The justified interruptions timer allows me to accept the reality of life, which is that you sometimes do get interrupted, and quite justifiably. And it also allows me to follow the do it now principle, but within planned constraints. The next timer, break, is the one I use. It's the last one I use as standard every day, and this obviously covers breaks from work, such as having lunch or making coffee. These remaining three timers cover specific tasks for the day, and to decide what goes in here, I'll refer to my weekly plan. This document is just a Word document which I use at the beginning of each week to set up major objectives for the week and turn them into main tasks to be performed each day. If you own the IMI Organizer Pro system, you may recognize the name of this document if you look up the top here, Current Activities Log, which is easily available from the center of the mind map. But there's actually nothing special about the document except that it's easily accessible from the map, so any text document will do. Now, today is Friday, and I have two major activities to do for today. The first is to do with planning on how to add automation to my Twitter account, and the second is to add 5 posts to my blog. Now, I already have the articles written, so I don't need to create the content. All I need to do is upload the content and schedule when they are to appear. So they're the two tasks for today. And those two activities are different from the ones I did yesterday, so I'll delete these 3 timers and insert new timers for my 2 activities for today. To add a new timer, I'll look at the list of action lists here on the left, and you can see the action list that I've created: business day, temporary, ad hoc, mentoring, etc. And I'm going to select market engagement because my first activity was to set up some automation for one of my Twitter accounts. Now, the list of activities under this list just includes Social Loom for setup, so I need to create a new action, which I will do just by typing it up here. I'll call it Market Engagement Automation Planning. Press the plus button, and that action gets added to that list. And now I can just hover over it, and I get the chance to select an amount of time. And for this particular instance, for use today, I'm going to set it to 180 minutes. Click on that, and that activity timer gets added to the timer group on the right. And then my second activity, my second task for the day, was to schedule 5 blog posts. So I'll click the list for my blog. There's actions related to the blog, and this is the one I want: write schedule blog post, and I'm going to say that's going to take me 60 minutes. Click on that, the timer gets added, and the time is set to 60 minutes. So now I've got all my timers set up for my activities for today. So now I'm all set up for the day, and at the top of the screen I can see the total amount of time that I've scheduled, which is 8.5 hours. If I hover over that, I can see the amount of time I've got left. Now, it doesn't really matter what order I perform the activities in, so long as I start the relevant timer when I'm working on a particular task. Without using Action Machine Pro, it would have been just too inconvenient and time consuming to manage my time to this level of detail. But with a product, all it takes is 2 button clicks each time I switch activity. So if you want to know more about the product, just go to activitytimers.com, where you can read more about it, and if you like, you can order it there. I highly recommend this tool as a way to very significantly boost your focus and your efficiency. Thanks for your time.